Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do, hi, Jim. Jim Shelton is from 31st Street Swing Left, and he's joining us from Maryland, I think. And Susan says, I'm interested in learning how to screen share. Okay. Okay, well, we can't do screen sharing first. We're going to start, I think, but I will make sure that we get that in there. I think the overarching theme of this entire lesson is that imagine that hosting a Zoom meeting is like flying an airplane. There are so many controls. You don't know what all of these things do. And so I think that's where the analogy ends, because I don't know anything about flying an airplane. But I think the purpose of this meeting is to just show you some simple ways to host a small Zoom meeting. If you came here to try to figure out how to host a 100-person Zoom meeting, I think you're in the wrong place. We're not going to be doing this. We're going to start at the beginning. And if there are people who want to learn how to host large Zoom meetings, maybe we can do that at some other time. Okay, so I'm going to start, actually, ironically, by sharing my screen. And well, I might as well tell you what I'm going to do. I mean, essentially, when you're the host, or many times, actually, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to enable everyone to share their screen. Okay, so now, you know, if you wanted to, you can see that there's a button down the bottom that's green that says share your screen, and Vicki has started sharing her screen. Lovely. So now we're seeing Vicki's screen. The nice thing about being the host is that I can actually go to the top, which is just where there's some options, and I can stop Vicki's screen sharing. And she started again, so I'm going to stop her again. So she isn't actually a Zoom bomber, but she is helping us rehearse what would happen if somebody is a Zoom bomber. Zoom bombers are people who come in to try to disrupt your meeting. And one of the reasons why you don't necessarily want to enable participant screen sharing all the time is that somebody could, not Vicki, of course, but they could start sharing their screen, and they could, like, you know, moon you or something, something like that. The way we'll talk, there are ways of quickly dealing with that, but the way I just did it was to just stop her participant screen sharing. And then if she kept doing that, I would have kicked her out of the meeting, with all due respect. So anyway.
I didn't do it on purpose.
Okay. So I have a little PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. And then there's I will just mention something else about sharing screens while we're on the subject. Is that one of the things that I think intimidates people about sharing their screen is not necessarily finding the share your screen button, but it's the next screen that you see after that, which gives you a confusing plethora of options, including whiteboarding. And I don't know, I haven't even, you know, I have not looked at all of them and don't want to. But what I recommend for all beginners or even intermediate people is to look for the screen that has the smiling faces in it, you know, the actual screen that where you can see everybody. That's called the Zoom, that's called the desktop, and share that. And for 90% of the time, that is the easiest thing to share, because it is exactly like using your own computer. You don't need to do anything different. What you're really doing is just cloning your screen so that everybody can see exactly everything that's on your screen. Now, if somebody sends you a love note while you're sharing your screen, then everybody will see it. But you know, that could be a good thing. So I'm going to share my screen. And the disadvantage of sharing my screen is that you know, you can see all the things I had open on my screen. So I'm going to shut all those things. But somewhere on the screen is my Chrome browser, and I had my I already have this PowerPoint up and running. I mean, it's a Google Slides presentation. So this Google Slides presentation was done by Wendy Postlethwaite, the Swing Blue Alliance newsletter editor, who has been helping out on the News Magic team. And so I'm going to use some of her slides. Thank you, Wendy, in absentia. So essentially, we're going to get started from the perspective of someone who has never hosted a meeting before. I know that some people already have hosted meetings, so unfortunately, some of these preparatory steps are not necessary, but I'm just going to go through them relatively quickly. And then if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. All right. So the very, very first thing you need to do is create your Zoom account. In the advertisements for this meeting, I said that we're going to teach you how to use a free Zoom account. I think Nancy pays for an account, and some other people may pay for an account. The advantage of paying for an account is actually not a whole lot if you're only going to host meetings to talk to one other person. If you are hosting meetings to talk to one other person, you can, it's unlimited with the free account. It's not unlimited, it's 30 hours, I think, or something. So, I mean, you can be on there for hours talking to somebody else. Marcia?
Yes, will you be sending this PowerPoint to us, or should I take notes?
I think you should, it's a long PowerPoint. Sure, we'll send it. Yes, we'll send it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, so the first thing that you want to do is just go to zoom.us and click sign up. If people don't see the entire slide, please feel free to move your move around the video. Actually, I wonder, does that actually hide the video of the other participants for you or not? No. Okay, it hid it for me, which is fine. So maybe I'll put it back on then. Okay, so that is something that I learned relatively recently, is that when you record a meeting, if you are looking at, if you're sharing your screen and you actually see the other video participants on the screen, that does show up in the recording. So maybe I will hide it. So that's something to keep in mind if you're recording your meeting. Right now, we're going to create our Zoom account. So we just click sign up. It's free. Put in your birthday. I have not experimented with putting in the wrong birthday, but I think you have to be at least 18. And then you enter your email and click sign up. So I noticed that some people have raised their hand. What is there a question?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
You can hide the other participants except for the speaker by going into view and clicking side by side speaker.
Right.
Absolutely. And then you only see the speaker, not the other participants.
That's a really excellent point. Thank you for that. Okay, so then we're going to activate the Zoom account. Just look for the email, click it says please activate your Zoom account, click the activate account button. And then it will ask you to invite friends. Don't do that. Or you can if you want, but it's really unnecessary. And then your Zoom account will be activated. This may, some people may find this confusing. So not only do you have to create an account with a password on Zoom, but you also have to install some software on your computer. And you can do that. Yeah, does somebody have a question?
I have a question. I've already done that part supposedly a month or so ago when I hosted a meeting with a good friend in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, do I have to go through this each time, or is once enough?
Once is enough. When you create an account, once is usually enough. You will have a password, which you may forget, and then you can, Clarissa, I know you have multiple emails and sometimes it can be confusing, but if you've forgotten your password, you'll have to click the reset password link and it will go to whatever account that you used when you, email account you used when you created your Zoom account, the password. Now, if for some reason you forgot your password and you no longer had that email account, you would have to create another account. So then it turns out you can actually host meetings quite successfully on your iPad or iPhone. And so you can actually download separately, you can download an app on your iPhone or your Android or your iPad. This screen shows downloading the regular Zoom client that you get for your desktop or laptop. Okay, so you've downloaded that, and now that's you're ready to schedule your meeting. Once again, there are multiple ways to schedule a meeting. This is not the only way, but having evaluated the different options, I decided that this one might be the easiest one to teach. All you do is go to zoom.us, sign in again if for some reason you're not signed in. Therefore, you'll need your password. Click schedule a meeting. And on the screen that I'm showing you right now, you're just seeing, putting the time in and things like that. Remember that if your free Zoom account, you can put an hour, but you're not going to get an hour. You're only going to get 45 minutes because that's the maximum that you get for a free account. Okay, here's where it gets where no matter what you do, it's slightly complicated. So there's two options for a meeting ID. One is generate a new one for every meeting, and the other is don't generate a new one for every meeting, because your account comes with its own permanent meeting ID. The advantage to using your own permanent meeting ID, which I did, I used my own permanent meeting ID for the first, I think, year of me using Zoom. I just used that because it was a lot easier. I just why is it easier? Because you can use the same link all the time. You don't even need to schedule a meeting. That's your link. That's your permanent Zoom room on the web where you can host meetings, and you can copy that link, save it someplace, and hand it out to people. For example, there's a scenario where you could just say, hey, you know what? Why don't we just get on Zoom? You say, I'll email you a link. You email the link, you get on, and you're on. Okay, so there are a couple things to make this convenient. Having a waiting room is not convenient because people end up in the waiting room, and then you have to let them out of the waiting room. So you can, when you create this meeting, I would suggest not enabling the waiting room. And then another thing that makes it easier for people is that when they arrive at the meeting, their video will automatically be on and their sound will automatically be on. And beyond, that will mean that there's less things for people to fumble with when they, when they join the meeting. Now, some of you may be thinking this is not the most secure way to host a meeting. It's true. It's not. That's okay. This is a beginner class, and I'm thinking about you having a meeting with 3 or 4 friends, or it's not. It's not. There are many, many options. This is one option. You have to evaluate whether it's the right option for you. So another way to do it is to make it and which is safer, is to generate a new meeting ID for every meeting. If that's the case, no, I'm sorry, that screen capture was supposed to say generate automatically. Apologize. So you pick generate automatically, it creates a new link. Make sure you disable the waiting room. You can always enable the waiting room later if you need it. It's just one less thing to trip you up. I want to mention that I actually don't schedule meetings this way. I actually schedule meetings directly from my Zoom calendar with a plugin. If people are interested in that, I can show them that. But I schedule a lot of Zoom meetings, and I just don't have time to go to the web and do all that stuff. So I just go right to my calendar and schedule a meeting there. And you can do that with a plugin. After you click, so that was a bit of a distraction, this thing. Okay, remember, we were on this screen, and you see how it says save at the bottom, okay? Then after you click save, you will get this screen. And the single most important thing about this screen is the invitation link, because the invitation link is what you'll need to share with other people. And so you'll want to copy that invitation link, and we can talk about how to do that. And then the other thing that's important about this is, I'm sorry, I just want you to see, it says add to calendar, right? And that's to add it to your calendar, right? So this is a way to add the Zoom link to your calendar. And there are 3 calendar options here. However, now you've only scheduled a meeting with yourself, you still need to invite people. And let's see. So one of the ways to do that is to, and you know, we focus on Google here. So you open the Zoom event in the Google Calendar and add recipient names and send invitations. Because this calendar meeting was scheduled while you were in Zoom, it actually has the Zoom link in it. So you don't need to, that's where the Zoom link is. However, as you probably know, not everybody sees Zoom, and not everybody sees Google Calendar invitations. So I always hedge my bets by going back to the Zoom tab and clicking copy invitation, going to your email client, composing a new email, paste the copied invitation into the body of the email. And then you've got an option of either, you know, adding your invitees on the to line, or if you don't want people to see who's been invited to the meeting, you can put it on the BCC line. I'm going to stop the share and ask if there's any questions. Patricia?
I have 2 quick questions. Well, the first one is just a comment. Where it says passcode, I figured out that you can delete that. You just, you know, hit the X button and get rid of what's there and make up your own passcode, which is a word. So if I host like a BFF meeting, I'll put BFF for the passcode. So I have different passcodes, but I use the same meeting ID. So, and it's more friendly than, so some people click on the link, but some people like type in the meeting ID, and to not have to put that crazy passcode with all the letters and numbers and just put a word. I don't know if that's helpful, but for
Oh,
people
it's
who do
interesting.
it that way.
So it's interesting. The question is, who at this point is still entering a meeting passcode? Because I think, and I'll be interested to hear, you know, because the link, you know, actually, let me just share my screen for a second. Well, maybe people know, but has everybody seen a Zoom link and see how it says PWD, and then there's the string of very long, you know, letters, email, you know, stuff like that, letters and numbers. So I know the way people would use the passcode is if they went to the Zoom app and then there's this option that says join a meeting, and then it says what's your meeting ID, and so you could type it in there. What's everybody else think? Is
I
that
do have lots of people who prefer to do it that way.
okay? Okay, so that's good. So know your audience, I think, is a really helpful helpful thing. You know, if you're using calendar invitations, like, you know, then people will just click the link because the link is right in the calendar invitation. But absolutely, I mean, there are a million different options and everybody should pick the one that's right for them. Now, there are people who have their hand raised who probably don't have a question. So if those people, if you would go to reactions and lower your hand, then I can see who does have a question. Okay, great. John, do you have a question?
Yes, so does it matter when you highlight Google, does that help other people have it go to their Google account, or doesn't it matter? In other words, is there a difference between just simply copying the email, sending people an email, and hitting the Google highlighted piece there? That does either one of them help people on the other end as far as it going into their calendar directly?
Well, John, I think that's a really good question. So even though I'm going to say no, the reason why I think it's a good question is because if you're getting into the Google mindset by creating your own Google entry in your calendar, then I think it becomes a very quick, short step to add, to add other people. And I'm going to just very briefly share my screen again, and I'm going to pull up my calendar. So I use Google Calendar, which is kind of going to be a pain here because I'm in the middle of a presentation. Okay. So here's our News Magic training appointment for today. Can everybody see that? It's way over on the right. Maybe I should move it in.
No, no.
Okay, is that any better?
Mhm.
Okay. I created this meeting, and you can see that the Zoom link is right here. It's also right here. And then I can add anybody that I want to this meeting invitation by clicking edit and clicking add guest. I'm sorry, it just did that. I don't know why I did that. I'm getting a little lag on my computer. Hold on. Let me try it again. Okay, so I'm going to click edit, and I'm going to add my partner, Bob Master, who really should be here since he wants to learn how to host a Zoom meeting, and then hit save. And this is a recurring event, but ignore that. And it says, would you like to send invitation emails to new Google Calendar guests? And I say yes. So now he's going to get a invitation to that meeting. So the fact that you set up used Zoom to set up the calendar invitation set you up for success in the next step where you invited people to the meeting. However, like I said, I don't trust that everybody is going to get that invitation for whatever reason. Some people just don't get those invitations. So the next thing that we said in the instructions is to go back to Zoom and copy the meeting invitation and then send it out via a regular email. Or what I do, because I'm lazy, is I just copy this thing right here and press Control-C. And then I just send out my email. The disadvantage to that, obviously, is that people don't get the call-in information. Actually, one thing that's interesting about the calling information that I forgot to mention is that the free Zoom account does not let you phone in. So in other words, like you can call in using the Zoom app on your phone, which is really more like, but you can't actually use the actual plain like calling in like a conference call number. That if you're hosting a Zoom meeting, you have the free account, they don't offer that as an option.
Interesting.
Yeah. Marcia.
You mentioned a plugin. What's that?
A plugin. So a plugin is something that you add on to a program that doesn't, it wasn't included in the program originally. And so in this particular case, my Google Calendar is connected to my Zoom account. So I can actually just create a meeting invitation by starting in my Google Calendar and just create a normal meeting invitation, just like I was inviting you all over to my house for coffee. But then I would click make this a Zoom meeting, and it would automatically generate, it would just turn it into a Zoom meeting, and I would never have to leave my calendar. So that's what I do, because I set up like, 15 Zoom meetings a week. And I could show somebody that some other time. That particular thing that I do is highly dependent on the fact that I use Chrome for my browser. Jim.
Yeah, just a detail. I like 45-minute meetings, so a lot of time. So when I go to the first frame, the way I do it through Google anyway, but anyway, it doesn't let me do 45. It's only when I get to the second frame that I can adjust that. So people who wouldn't know that wouldn't.
Totally annoying. Totally annoying. I don't know why they do that. You should write to them, tell them it's annoying.
Well, but for us, it's just,
Yeah, it is. It's annoying. Yeah, totally get that. Okay, so let me go back to the PowerPoint. For those of you who are interested in screen sharing, note that because I'm sharing my screen, my desktop, I'm getting lots of you know, lots of other screens that I don't want people to see. And that is the disadvantage of this. And also when a lot of times when you're doing a Zoom meeting, you know, you may want to be showing a slideshow. So I'm going to click slideshow, and now you'll see just the slideshow. Needless to say, there are other ways to do this. This is not the most professional way to do it, but it's the easiest way. All right. So next. Okay. So this is obvious. This is for anyone that they will have to find your Zoom link, and then they will click on it. And this is where, you know, I think everybody saw that it says PWD equals. And for a long time, I wondered why the password wasn't the one that you actually set. And it's because it's encrypted. If that's confusing, I apologize. Okay, so then these are just different ways of opening your Zoom meeting. And I'm going to, the rest of these slides have to do with helping people troubleshoot when, you know, so one of the biggest problems of being a Zoom host is that you actually have to help people when they're having problems. And that's probably one of the most daunting things. It's not really controlling your own life, it's controlling everybody else's life. By the way, I think, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make everybody in this meeting a co-host so that you can see the co-host, the hosting controls, which are really very similar to the hosting controls. It's really kind of the same thing. Oh, yeah, actually, I wanted to mention, I was discussing this training with my partner who doesn't know how to host Zoom meetings yesterday. And one of the things we came up with is have a wing person. So if you're nervous about hosting a Zoom meeting, the first thing I would do is call one of your friends who's going to be on the meeting and say, hey, can you be my wing person? And just, you know, if people are having problems, can you try to help them? Because there's nothing worse than, you know, trying to run a Zoom meeting and then have somebody who can't hear you. And then, you know, you've got two things you've got to troubleshoot. It can be exhausting. Okay. So is everybody a co-host? Hold on, please.
How did you make everybody a co-host?
I made everybody a co-host. By the way, now that you're a co-host, you can make people a co-host. So that, you know, one interesting thing, I should have asked everybody to make it somebody else a co-host. That would have been nice. But you go to the, everybody's now seeing what I'm seeing down on the bottom of the screen. Presumably you're not using an iPad. You will now see more Zoom controls down the bottom of your screen. Is everybody seeing that?
That's
Okay, so
right, I
what?
don't-
No?
Yeah,
Who's
because
it?
I don't use an iPad, so.
No, you shouldn't be. You're not using it. iPad people would not see it at the bottom of the screen. They would see it at the top of their screen. If you're not using an iPad, you should see more things like, you know, down where it says chat, you should see participants, share screen, security. Everybody seeing that?
Oh,
Yep.
now I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. great.
Security,
Yeah, security is great, and I really want to talk about security. But before I do that, I wanted to show you how to make people a co-host. So, you know, if you're not, you know, one of the other confusing things about Zoom, right, is that there are three boxes you've got to manage. You've got your main Zoom meeting screen, you've got your chat window, and you've got your participants. And you know, it just makes it really confusing. So right now we want to look at participants. So if you don't see all the participants over on the right, you need to click participants so that you see the 13 participants in the meeting. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
So now you can have, this is also how you kick somebody out of a meeting. So if you take your mouse and move it to highlight any of the people in the meeting, you will have a relatively useless option of asking them to unmute, and then more. And if you click more, you have a whole bunch of things that you can do. You can stop their video. And I don't want to get into all this, but you can make them a co-host. Does everybody, or you're not seeing that because they are a co-host, but you can withdraw their co-host permission. Obviously, if they weren't a co-host, that would say make them a co-host, right?
Well, I'm a little confused. You said drag your mouse over the participants to mute them or to get rid of them or something, but.
What, no, I said highlight. So go,
Oh, highlight.
pick, just find one participant you want to focus on, put your mouse over them. Just one participant.
Now, is that in the list of names that
Yes.
used to be on my right-hand side? Because it's not there anymore.
Okay, now you click. So this is what's called a toggle. When you click participants, if you're already seeing the participant list, it shuts it off. If you click
Okay.
it again, it will turn it on. You click it again, it will
Great.
shut it off. Yeah.
Okay, so you said, drag it over or.
No,
Mhm.
just put your mouse, pick somebody and put your mouse over
Or
them.
more. I get it. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
you're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Jane.
I clicked on more and it didn't show the option to withdraw the co-host.
That will be our goal. Now,
The
thinking about
co-host, whatever it is.
Well, this is the way that we have a great learning opportunity here. Oh, it stopped. Okay, that because somebody was making noise, and
Right.
that is another one of the things you've got to figure out is how to quickly mute people. Just very quick, Jane. It's kind of too late because they stopped making noise. But actually, Jane, would you mind? Do you know how to mute someone?
Well, it's here. It shows how I
Oh,
can. mute
okay.
someone.
Okay. So Nancy, would you like to, oh, you're on mute. Nancy, would you like to unmute? Yeah. Okay, Nancy, can you start saying things and Jane, would you like to try muting her?
Yeah, go ahead
Sure.
and just try to mute me. Go ahead.
I muted everyone. Because I didn't know who was making them. I didn't know it was Nancy, so I just muted everyone.
Okay, so this is the problem when we make everybody a co-host. So now everyone is on mute. Jane, I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to practice unmuting Nancy, but Jim muted everyone. So that's obviously a key problem, is that if you mute everyone, so I mean, one of the big problems with hosting a big meeting is that you have somebody who has background noise and you're trying desperately to figure out who they are, and you're like, oh heck, I'll just mute everyone, and then your speaker, nobody can hear your speaker. So that's like a very big problem. Anyway, yeah.
Going back to my question, when I went on to more, it didn't say withdraw co-host.
Okay, what does it say, Jane?
privileges.
What does it say, Jane? What does it say?
It says chat, stop video, pin, add spotlight, replace spotlight, report.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
because no one sees that except me, because I'm the host. I apologize. That was an incorrect. You can't actually withdraw someone else's co-host position permission unless I make you the host. That's a unique host. However, you could have made them a co-host. Co-hosts can make other people co-host, but they can't withdraw co-host permission. So that was an incorrect tech support thing on my part. Thank you for pointing that out. So, okay. But you can see that you can mute them, which is incredibly important if somebody's making background noise. But I did want to get to security, because security is where you go if you're in a hurry, and you can be in a hurry sometimes because something bad might be happening, or you just it's just a really good place to deal with all things that are Zoom security. So I made you co-host, so everybody should be able to click on the security thing. Do you see it? It's to the left of participants. Hearing no problems, I shall proceed.
Yes.
I mean, Zoom bombing is not a problem. I have never clicked lock meeting. I mean, but I've been in meetings that were Zoom bombed, but I've never hosted one. But if you lock the meeting, everything will freeze while you figure out what to do. So that's helpful. I don't know if anybody remembers, but earlier I told you not to enable the waiting room. That's just a way of not having one more thing to deal with when you get into the meeting. However, if you, obviously I recommend that you get into a meeting early, right? So that you can futz around before people come. So if you decide to enable the meeting room because you don't want people to come in before the allotted, before the right time, then you can click enable meeting room here. And then if you want to disable the meeting room, you can just click it again and disable it. And then there are some other options like allowing participants to share their screen. If you're in a small meeting, allow everybody to share their screen. It's just going to be a hassle trying to individually enable people to share their screen. And then finally, you have remove participant. So that is if you do that when somebody's a big problem. Okay. Any questions about that?
It's helpful.
Works to me.
Great. Okay. Are we ready for screen sharing?
Well, what does suspend participant activities mean? It's in red at the bottom. It's really ominous.
I don't know the difference between suspending participant activities and locking the meeting.
Okay.
It's probably very similar. I apologize. It's something that you do when you're getting Zoom bombed. Sorry about that. I do have a Zoom bombing guide if anybody is seriously concerned about that. Okay. So how many people have, what are some of the issues that people encounter when they share their screen for those of us for those who have shared their screen?
Well, for me, when I first bring it up, I see a bunch of options. And I guess the one up in the left-hand corner is kind of like your whole screen, but you also have the option of individual screens. And I'm a little flustered to know which one to do, although conceptually I kind of get the idea.
Right. It's really a thing that you need to decide. So the other what's really confusing is that some of the options when you share your screen are always the same, like whiteboard and desktop and things like that. But some of them are different depending on which windows you have open on your computer. So for every window that you have on your computer, whether you can see it or not, I mean, it could be minimized, right? So I'll give you, rather than talking in abstract language, let me just make it simpler. Let's say at the time that you host a meeting, you're writing a letter in Word, you use Outlook and you have your Outlook open. And then what you really are interested in is the PowerPoint presentation that you want to display. Okay. So, so now you have, an option of, okay, well, do I just share the PowerPoint window or do I share my desktop and then navigate to PowerPoint? Is that clear? Okay. So with PowerPoint, a lot of times, you may want to just share that one window. And what I would do is just look for, when you open up, when you click share screen and you get this plethora of options, just look for, if you look carefully, you'll see your PowerPoint presentation. So just click on it, right? The problem is that sometimes if for any reason you want to go to another application, or worse, there's like a hyperlink or something in the application, like in a PowerPoint presentation, and then your Chrome, and then you want to click on the hyperlink and have your web browser come up, people might not see it. Okay. If you're sharing your desktop, that never happens, right? Because they're seeing everything that you're seeing. So that's, but the problem is they'll see your desktop. They'll see if you're on a Mac, they'll see your dock, they'll see, if you get a message from your kid, that will come, a desktop notification that will come right in, everybody will see it, etc. So, you just have to be careful with that. Did that help at all?
Yeah, what I do is if I'm waiting to show a presentation, I bring up the presentation at the same time as the Zoom.
You're
So,
right,
and
right.
I know it's, otherwise it's hard to see sometimes, it's hard to,
Yeah.
but if you got it right there, it kind of appears in the same spot on the left-hand side all the time, at least for me.
Right. Okay, Jean wants to see how the whiteboard works. Jean. I've never, well, okay, so this is the thing about me, right? I've never used a whiteboard, but I'm not afraid to try it. So let's go to the whiteboard. Okay, can you guys see the whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay, so
You're just doing that with a mouse?
I just did that with a mouse, but I think the thing that I wanted to understand about the whiteboard is I thought that you could possibly share it so that other people could also write on the whiteboard at the same time. Could somebody else try writing on it? I didn't know if that's the one thing I don't know about the whiteboard. No, nobody can write on it.
Well, where do we find it?
You should be
Vienna?
seeing the whiteboard. You see where it says Jean?
Yeah, I got the whiteboard up, but I don't see any little controls that say.
I can't do it.
whiteboard.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
So click down on the view option on the top of the screen.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And then where it says annotate, click annotate.
oh,
And then it has a bunch of options here that you can.
Oh, this is so fun.
wow.
Where's the annotate? Where does it say annotate?
That's
Uh,
great.
Click on at the very top next to the green rectangle view options.
Oh, yeah.
Click on that and then
Oh.
3 down, it's annotate.
Oh.
And that opens up a whole set of things you can do.
Oh
That
my
is so
God.
fantastic. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Oh my God, I now know another way we can waste time on Zoom meetings. We can all do group art.
Does it have a penmanship corrector function?
Well, actually, there is the text. People can also do text. I don't know if you can see that. So like I can.
Oh, much better.
And also you can also erase other people's stuff like,
Yeah.
I
I'll do that too.
yeah, there's actually a lot of options.
Erase
here.
other people's. I think you can only erase your own.
Well, I'm erasing other people's, but
Well, that's because I guess you're the host.
yeah,
I
maybe,
can
but
only erase
are you
my own.
sure? Because you're a co-host. I bet you can.
Well, I just
I
tried
can
it.
only erase
I
my
can only
own.
erase my own.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why you need to host your own meeting. This is the most powerful reason I've seen yet.
Oh, I like the whiteboard.
All the colors that are available, and it's just really incredible.
Yeah.
I think we've discovered a new
Annotate, that's
therapy.
great.
There we go.
Yeah.
Jean, thank you for suggesting
was
that. That
fun.
was a great way to end this training. So we have 2 minutes. Is there anything else that people, burning need that people have in hosting meetings?
So I have a question about sharing the screen. If I'm at somebody else's meeting, it's their Zoom, and then they share the screen with me, I can just have my PowerPoint ready, and I've never done this, and just open it up, click on the PowerPoint, and it'll open up.
Well, you still click on the save screen.
Okay.
It's within it. There's a whole bunch of choices. You have to be able to spot it.
Okay.
You know what it looks like.
Not save screen, share screen.
Share screen.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And so is there going to be a training session on how to create something to share on
Well,
the
we just
screen?
did. We did the whiteboard. I mean, what else could you need? I mean,
That actually is really helpful for what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to use that. But I thought I need to create like either PowerPoint or slides as well.
mhm.
Is there a training on that?
Larry, remember we were going to deprioritize that, but maybe we should do it. Yes, Doug, you can do text.
I have to do it on Wednesday, so it would have to be soon.
No, I think we can. Couple questions in the chat. No, don't get confused. Zoom makes it look like you could add co-hosts at the time that you set up the meeting, but you can't. That's only with a paid Zoom account where you have, where it's like a corporate Zoom account where you have 10 people that are all part of the same Zoom account and some company is paying for it. So if you don't have that,
I have a paid account.
no, it's worse. You have to have a corporate account that has at least 10 paid users on it. It doesn't work. I have a paid account too, and it still doesn't work. Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
So it's
thank
basically
you.
not an option.
Yeah, I've tried to
unfortunately.
do it, but I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, very, very good point. It's annoying.
I have
Um,
a question just really quickly. That thing that just popped up before when we were using the whiteboard, does that only show up if you're a co-host? That little green thing that enabled us to have options, viewing options? Is that, I mean,
I
would
don't
that
think,
show up?
I don't think so. I think annotation is available for everyone in the meeting.
It is, okay.
By the way, I'm going to stop the recording because it's noon.